I've been here for 5 years and I've owned 5 businesses in 5 years. And I started giving back to the community. So I started asking myself, what should I do? I started browsing ideas. Then I'm like, podcast. I'll start a podcast. I won't be able to teach the audience because I'm not expert, not qualified to help anyone. But what I can do is ask bold questions to qualified people. And I'm going to ask, how did you make your first million? Because this is credibility. The purpose of this podcast was from the beginning is giving value and giving back. Because I felt like I owe this community. Solon, I actually don't know your story. I've known you for 2 years now.
Yeah.
You've attended 2 family events.
Yes, that's true.
But I still don't know your story. I know you're crazy. I know you're very smart. And I know that you're wild. I know that you work till 1 a.m. and you wake up at 5 in the morning to work out. But I don't know your story. Tell me your story in 1 minute.
That's funny. You know, like what you just said always comes back wherever I am in the world. Those 3 words you say, wild, crazy, and the third one usually is intense. And to me, I just don't see it like that. I used to be offended because crazy has a very negative connotation, also has a bit of a negative connotation, and intense too. Somehow, I don't know when, I was in an event where there's a lot more successful people than me, right? And then I realized that what drove nervousness or what drove discomfort for most people was drawing admiration from people that were way more successful than me. And then I started thinking about, okay, well, maybe because there's a bell curve of normal behavior that everyone abides by, so at the extremes, people are calling that crazy or wild or thing, when maybe I'm just not in the norm, not a normal person that does an 8 to 5 job, and I have to accept it. And the moment I accepted it, well, guess what? A lot of good things happened around me, a lot better things. So my story is actually, I don't know where to start. Usually I start chronologically, which is like, hey, I was born in Brazil, in Salvador, which is a very interesting city by the coastline, the former capital of Brazil, where you have something like 90% of the population mixed of African descent. And then being Brazil, it's mixed with like native blood, Portuguese blood, Afro-Brazilian blood. But if you are born in Salvador, there's something that they say there is that they say, se você nasceu na Bahia, se você não sabe dançar do pé, dançar você é doente do pé ou doente da cabeça, which means is like if you're born in Salvador and you don't know how to dance, you're either sick of the feet or sick of the head. There's a certain tempo to people that if there are a certain intensity, a certain, what I call knowing how to move to the rhythm of life and embrace it in the downs and in the up, you would have never seen more poor people with a smile than in Brazil. And that to me, you know, that's where I was born, in a colonial city from half Turkish, half French with Eastern European descent blood. And then on the other side, a mixed mulata, which is a mix of native, black, and some white in their mother. My story starts there, but then there's a lot of other things that happen. I've been 4 times immigrant. So my first memory in life was the military police putting a machine gun towards my mother because Brazil is a pretty corrupt country. And her being a typical reaction of her, most people see a machine gun from the military towards them, they freeze and calm down. She jumped at their throat like a tiger, yelling at them, saying that she'll call her cousin or uncle that is an admiral in the Navy and is going to have them executed. Like, so that summarizes, you know, and my
yeah, it's inherited. It's inherited.
So
tell me a bit more about your business story. How did your business journey start? When did you find your talents? When did you say, I'm going to do this? When did you break even?
Again, I wouldn't know how to pinpoint it. Like there's a few things that happen.
When was the last time you've been on a date?
Oh,
I thought they asked these questions on a date. Tell me your story.
I don't. So first of all, I don't think I've ever really dated. Don't like the dating scene at all. When I tried, it was very painful. But if I have to say my story, look, it's very simple. I tried everything I could to avoid being an entrepreneur. I tried everything I could to not take certain level of risks when almost everyone in my family was a free-spirited person and taking risks. And that doesn't work. And at some point, what happened is that I felt that overwhelming, I don't know how to explain it, but like frustration in my life. And I said, the hell with trying to be something I'm not. And I'm going to start businesses and been very successful doing that.
How did you overcome this fear?
Well, I did not overcome the fear. What happened is the frustration grew bigger than the fear. The frustration of having people not moving at the pace that they needed to, not people. I'll tell you some stories. I remember I feel sorry for all my bosses, by the way. I apologize to in order, Marcus Lauzen, Hervé Pluche, Bob Caberson, Alain Soublier, like everyone that tried to manage me. But I remember there was a team that came back and said, Solon, you have a very low tolerance for people that think slower than you. You have a very low tolerance for fools. You're making abstraction of pace of the team. There was a recurring theme of me coming and just like, let's go, and people around me just not going where. And then so what ended up, there was more frustrations. And then at some point, the wife of one of the owners of the business I was working on thanked me personally for all the great stuff I had done for her husband and asked me the question, which is, so when are you starting your own? And I look at her, I was like, and then her husband just knocked her on the shoulder. And I said, hold on a second here. Like, this was the one guy that was always okay with me being me. My father used to tell me, be very wary of the friendly rich man. And I was working for a very friendly rich man. And then after a while, he basically pretty much fired me with a big check saying, look, man, I feel guilty. Do you see that car in the park lot there? I was like, yeah, it's a nice, top of the line Porsche. It's like, yeah, that's what I call the Solon bonus of last year. And then I realized that he could buy a new Porsche every 6 months thanks to the work I was doing, but I was getting 10% of that value back. And he literally fired me out of guilt and told me, you have to go do your own, man.
You're too good to be here.
He's like, you have to do your own. And I resisted. I said, no, I don't want to do that. I'm okay. I don't want to do that, take that risk. I'm like, and he's like, okay. And a year after I came back, he's like, so are you ready now? I was like, yeah, okay, I'm ready.
How many business categories have you been involved in? Like food, tech?
No, I just stick to tech. No.
Tech from the beginning till now.
Look, you have to go from strength to strength. Look, research it. Like, look, my family has made me a healthy bipolar person in business, which is I have a side of the family that was very humble, another side of the family, very bourgeois, upper class. And I saw both sides. One of my uncle, which I had a very special relationship with, basically took me one day when I was 17 years old and he saw potential in me and he's like, okay, look, come with me, we're going to go to a conference on wealth management. And that opened my eyes. And when you look at people when they are in the end of their career, and you're looking at multi-billionaires, they stick to what go from strength to strength. They don't dissipate focus. They don't start trying to build a new network somewhere else. They go from strength to strength. At least those that I thought were happy.
Love that. Is your company right now Canadian-based company? Why?
With operations in North America. Why Canadian-based? Well, look, the idea started here. At the time, there was very good unit economics to do it here. The first clients were here. And it's turned out that, I was spending most of my time here during COVID. But there's some pros and cons to every country. I would say every city even, right? So you need to look. I was born if you go to the first house where I lived in Brazil, or some of the neighborhoods I grew up in, it will tell you that people that want to make it can succeed anywhere, from anywhere at no many time. Now, does it have to be harder than other places? That's the second question that comes to that. But it doesn't matter if it's Canada or if it's somewhere else in the world. I mean, I would have make it work anyway.
Nice, because I follow you on Instagram personally, and I watch your stories, and I can tell that you're very unhappy with them.
I'm disappointed.
What's happening with Canada now?
I'm a bit frustrated, and I'm very sad because I think Canadians have great opportunities around them. They're in the same time zone and the proximity of the number one market in the world. In terms of reach, in terms of purchasing power. Yeah, so you picked up on my Instagram story of 2 days ago. Look, I'll be very candid, Canada did not wake up from the lockdowns on COVID compared to these, bigger brothers down south, where they're coming out of COVID roaring.
That's right.
Roaring.
Third world countries, they're like
yeah, the other countries, I don't even know if we can call them third world anymore, That's insulting for someone born in Brazil. I find always when people say, oh, you come from a third world country. Well, you know what? Let me show you how I'm first place before you. It's like...
I did not mean it like any
I know, but
insult.
No, but it is received sometimes like that, right? From people that are in countries. I've met people extremely successful in many third world countries. And then look at the founder of Canada.
I personally made a story and I said, North America is becoming the third world.
Yeah, some pieces if you walk downtown LA and you see the homelessness there,
yes,
it's very concerning, right?
100%. I traveled to 7 countries in 4 months this year, just in 2024. And, people in third world countries, they have now better opportunities to make money. They have access to money and they're happy. They're happy as fuck from Monday to Sunday. And this is how you can call this country successful, because the people are happy.
Look, it's very simple to me. Until I don't, I will do everything I can to make Canada a better place, pay my taxes on time, and pay what I owe, and contribute and be of value to society. And being of value means in a democracy, which is a beautiful thing that we have here. That means vocally express concerns when there is a lack of sophistications in reforms or changes. I personally think the tax code needs to be reformed really sincerely. Like there's quite a few more things they should change. And I think the current proposal they're making, in some aspects, are wonderful. Like that thing of the trust for employee ownership, it's such an elegant solution and smart. I credit John Snell to share that with me on his LinkedIn post. But other things are just, wait a second, this is not the time to do it. And it doesn't feel there was consultation or collaboration with people that are already on the edge. And I think you see why there's a pushback right now. Look, I've been pretty neutral on the topic, although it seems I'm vocal. I've actually held back a lot from what I know and what I hear. You have to remember, I invested in 35 private companies. I've overseen turnarounds of company. I'm sitting at the table with billionaires and people that are wealth manager. My clients are accountants and lawyers. They share with me over dinner with a bottle of wine, stuff they're dealing with right now. I don't know why in particular and when exactly it happened that people, very strong contributor to the Kenyan economy, have been pushed off the edge. But this is serious. When you see people that have created companies of hundreds of people saying, hey, my next one, if they continue forward, I'm not doing it here.
Oh.
That's.
So what do you think is the solution now for the economy in Canada?
I think, first of all, Canadians are smart, right? So that's not going to continue. They're going to engage in the dialogue. There's going to be adjustment. And there's going to be also other elections. Like it's always feel more of a problem than it is on the short term. I think on the midterm, long term, Canada is going to wake up and implement the right policies. I believe the average Canadian is a very pragmatic person. So simple as that.
Do you want to dive deeper into this?
I mean, I don't know if that's that important for the audience on the
yeah,
internet.
we can switch. We can
local
switch.
Canadian.
I don't enjoy talking politics too much as well. What is the biggest thing that you're struggling now with your business? Is it
people?
Talents? Is it,
people.
Yeah? Yeah, why?
People mindset.
What's your solution for it?
If people don't believe in themselves, and if people believe that they can or that they deserve to experience great things, they will never. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So when you are in the position where I am, where there's an immense amount of opportunity and the market pulling us saying, hey, we really need you guys, and you have people that shop in the morning and they are not listening to that, then they miss the boat. They miss out. So actually, it's a great question. Today I had an all-team meeting and I told everyone, guys, like this is real. Like I showed them videos and photos and I showed what's in my inbox right now because I felt some people in the team were not, they think I was overhyping it. So I said, look, just look at my inbox. This is several partners coming. We have billions of dollars to come on your platform, hundreds of thousands of users. And I had to go, so that's what I'm doing for it. I'm making it real for them. That it's not just me talking, that there's things happening around them. That means incredible work experiences for them. That means wealth generation in the long term. And that means having a sense of being of value in society and having an impact and helping others, right? But if people don't have faith in themselves and don't believe that good things do happen to those who work hard in an efficient and smart way, all at the same time, not one or the other, there's nothing you can do for them, right?
Do you think you're doing a good job as a leader? Are you like really making them feel like they're involved in this success and it's their efforts that driving this success?
So it's funny, my title is not Chief Executive Officer. My title is CEO, but it stands for Chief Enablement Officer. So I'm here as I wake up in the morning sincerely and I go to bed at time first, being extremely hard on myself, on the words I used, on what I do and don't do, always seeking at ways of how can I enable others to be as successful as possible. So my management team, I tell them, guys, see me as a super secretary for you guys to be successful. That means if there's not enough capital, I need to know. That means if you struggle with something, I need to know. That means also if I see you struggling, I'm going to dive in and roll up the sleeves with you, and we're going to do this brothers and sisters in arms, and we're going to achieve and slay our dragons. So yeah, I do. That's actually my number one responsibility.
Do they come to you with questions, or they're afraid to ask you questions and ask you for help? I
don't let them be afraid. Like that would be a terrible thing if they're afraid.
I'm asking you this because I've been down that road before.
Yeah.
I've been where like, ask me questions, don't worry, I'll help. And then no one's asking me questions. And I realized every time they ask me a question, I'm very reactive. I'm very too much energy. So they're like, fuck this, I'm not going to ask him for a question.
But you see, that's something you've done very well. You have that self-awareness. To me, there's a lot of power in silence, right? So you have to create the space for people to speak as much as possible. If you look at the all-team meeting, the 3 leaders of the company speaks 45 to 50 minutes of the time. And I spend the last 10 minutes answering questions. Like, are you creating the space as a leader for people to feel comfortable occupying that space, right?
That's exactly it. What do you think is the most important thing in business? Skill. Is it the leadership, sales, marketing, engineer?
Vision.
vision. So you have to be the builder.
You need to be able to anticipate short-term, mid-term, and long-term with a very almost maniacal, obsessive thinking pattern of what can happen, what can be unlocked, what can arise, and run like simulations in your head, make assumptions, and test those assumptions in real time, flying by the wire. So without I was very mind blown when I started writing down my assumptions. So I'll give you an example, a very concrete, realistic example. The last business I started called MindBridge, which was the first AI business in financial data analysis. I listed an assumption and a theory. The thesis was people will stop trusting institutions. Most of the money on Wall Street is not reported properly, and people trust a system that is about to collapse. And this was I thought about this before the 2008 crisis. And then I basically wrote down there's going to be massive case of fraud, of corporate fraud uncovered that should have been caught in a very simple way, simply because there's improper financial reporting and improper tools for auditors that do data analysis. I took my worst vision, the worst case, there will be a $10 billion case of fraud. There'll be a company or two that will erode half of their public stock market value because of it. What ended up happening was worse. So I used my, what I call paranoia or vicarious traumatization skills to basically say, what else can happen bad? What matrix people don't see is going to hit them up? What model of the world I see that people don't see? And I'm making to list assumptions. And as I progress in the marketplace, are those assumptions being validated or not? And when there was quite a few of them that had early signs of it, then I basically started a company. And it turned out to be even more in need. Same with AI. When I remember the news, I talked about AI in 2014. I saw in Paris DeepMind presenting the first video game self-learning on their thing. And I said, I need to be, this is AI. This is what the Holy Grail we've been waiting for. It's going to evolve in that. People threw stone at me. Literally, I had someone kicking me out of a room. I had the press here on the Hotel Business Journal saying that, someone threw a dart at me saying that I'm full of bravado. I had my competitors laughing, says, man, AI is not real. This is just advanced statistics and machine learning. So many people talking down. And so having a vision that people don't have has been something extremely powerful for me. The rest doesn't matter. If you're first to show up, it's starting to rain and you're the first one to have an umbrella, you stay dry if you're the only one. If you're the first one, you think it's going to rain there and you show up with a little bucket for collecting the water.
Ready.
And then if people don't see that, there's a cloud forming and that looks like rain, they're in trouble. So having that anticipatory skill is very important.
What was the hardest thing for you when you started your business?
Being patient, that you can't have everything at once, and learning how to orchestrate. And it's the first time, and I still don't do it perfectly. In this business, the thing that I do different than others is that I'm not delegating to anyone else doing the hard work of orchestrating puzzle at the right time, at the right place, still keeping my impatience. But there's a real sense, there's some operators, and by the way, entrepreneurs and operators are two different breeds, right? And there's a lot, if you have the humility as an entrepreneur to learn from operators that can't be entrepreneurs, you acquire a double threat mechanism, right? There's that, so I was analyzed by coaches. I did all the Gallups, all the things thinking. And one of the key things why I became an entrepreneur is that coach told me, several coaches told me about 13 years ago that I have the triple threat. I said, what is that? So you're an activator, actuator, and something else, which in the Gallup Center says you know how to find initiatives and projects and launch them, you know how to drive them to course, and you know how to have them make real and close and end in the project.
You know how to make it happen.
Yeah, so you know how to start something, run something, and then make sure it gets delivered. And they call that the triple threat, right? In the models of running a business, there's people that know how to start a business and create value, and a lot of them get replaced when it's time to harness value of a proven model. A lot of them, if you look at a lot of entrepreneurs, right, they can become their own worst enemy when it's time to have a repetitive, proven, growing business model that just generates value, right? So right now, what I'm focusing on is really learning those skills, and, it makes a hell of a difference. I don't know if I answered the question fully, but...
You did. You did a good job. Hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah, or hire fast and fire fast.
Strategy do you use?
Both. So there's at times... people, look, if you're an optimist, and this is one of my flaws, by the way. Sometimes I give the 1, 2, or 3 chances to people, and sometimes I'm disappointed, but sometimes I'm positively surprised. And if one time out of the 3, I'm positively surprised, it still worth the pain of the 2 times out of 3 that I'm not positively surprised. There's something amazing when you have someone that is an underdog, that people don't believe in her or him, that you give a chance and does 1 or 2 mistakes that doesn't kill the company, but you're there for them. You show them and then they turn around and they turn into armies of one, right? And those people, when they discover they have that talent in them, first of all, they are so grateful and they work harder and better than others. And when those people, you give them promotions and they win with you and they make their first $1 million in some cases, there's some kind of it's not just that you're happy that you created something with that person, you transformed their lives and they know it. There was a guy like that contacted me out of nowhere. After years, I haven't heard from him. And he right away had a level of gratefulness towards me that was very humbling, but like, he said, so you remember this and this, you're right, and this is it now, and he's killing it now. He's like doing amazing. He's going to be way wealthier than I am right now, right? And then there's such an element of, you go to bed, that's the non-financial aspect of business when you can do that. So something I like about the hiring slow is that it's when you have a crucial role and then you can't afford to mishire, you should absolutely hire slow. And there's aspect that you don't mess around with. Integrity is one of them, right? Like if you go in business with someone that has low integrity, your life is going to become hell, right? So there's things that you have to hire slow for, but there's aspects of business when it's very transactional, very limited scope, and I just posted this morning a post on LinkedIn and I said, like, for example, inbox management on my social media, right? I don't have budget. I'm going to stretch it to see if some people can do a good job at that. And those people don't have to have the perfect pedigree. And I'd rather put them through the ringer fast, see if they can rise to the challenge. And then those who can keep up, I'll keep. Those who can't, I say, look, that's not for you. You have to look for somewhere else. And those people, I don't need to hire slow. I just need to give them a chance. And I need to have the time to coach and mentor and monitor them.
So if you're bringing this underdog and you have to find their talent and help them find their talent and make them beasts, this doesn't mean that you're firing fast. That means you're giving chances.
Yeah, but you need to be honest with them, saying that this is not for you and you need to let them go fast. So there's no misstep, there's no expectation being built up there. And you can afford, and your business, so at some point I'm not in a charity, I'm here to run a business. Yeah. And your team will not tolerate people that don't rise to the challenge. If you think about it, if you're playing soccer and you are joined a team made of Ronaldinhos and you're always dropping the ball, the coach can say, be nice, give him a chance 2 or 3 times, not the whole game, right?
The 6 is a nice rules.
Exactly.
Yeah.